And looking here, we've got Urias and Wright, and LA a big favorite here, about $1.87 to $1.90, depending where you're shop. Total 9.5. Wright's on the mound, although he's worked with his he's worked on his pitching form a little bit. It's improved, but how do you see this one? Dodgers in certainly a must-win situation.
Yeah, for me, I find that Kyle Wright's been involved in a lot of high-scoring affairs, whether it be in blowout fashion or whether it be a high-scoring, tight-knit game. Because you look at four of his last five starts, there's at least one team that's had 8 runs on the board, whether that's Atlanta or whether that's the opposition. I mean, you look at the run support. He's been all over the map. I mean, he gets 7 or 8 runs in 3 of his starts, and he gets 4 or less in the other 5. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Dodgers bounce back. I mean, you look at what LA did last night. They could have mailed it in down 7-0 late in the game, but they clawed back. It's just Atlanta had done too much damage up to that point. You look at the other side at Julio Urias. I mean, for as much as I bash the guy, he somehow gave up 2 runs or less in 8 of his 10 starts this year, and he had almost 7 runs of support on average per game. He only had 4 runs or less than 4 runs of support just once in all of his starts this year. So I mean, I think to begin with, this is a game where the offenses play a bit more of a role. I think that Wright may get touched up, but I'm not completely confident in Urias either, especially with the way that the Braves have been swinging the bats in the first 2 games.
Yeah, that's true. And of course, with Urias, you got to wonder if he can. Usually, I mean, he'll go in those stretches where he walks a lot of batters, he pitches in trouble, he gets out, or sometimes they take him out just in time. They bring in a fresh arm and they bail him out. He gets some bullpen luck his way, but. Again, with the Dodgers, how many innings are you going to get from Urias? I mean, he's going to give you 4. Is he going to give you 5? Does Roberts get nervous if he walks batters? I mean, if I'm the Braves here, and I'm going to be really patient at the plate, force him to work pitches, and put pressure on him, because I think when he's working under pressure, you want him behind in the count. That's really when he's in trouble.
Of course, you hit the nail right on the head with that one. I mean, the thing is with Urias, I also find is that even if he's only given up 3 hits, those 3 hits are either, ending up near the warning track or they're getting hit hard because, he throws hard, but he gets hit hard all the same. And, Tony, like you said, you're 100% correct. If he's missing the zone, there can be sort of stretches where, it looks like a good pitch. And then all of a sudden, the umpire calls it one way. And then the next thing he's down 3-0 in a count. And then, there's no going back from it. So I definitely think the umpire is going to be a big factor into whether Urias has success tonight or not, because I know Urias likes to paint the corners, and if he's not getting those strike calls early on, it could be a long night for the Dodgers on the mound.
That's exactly right. Sometimes we forget about the Dodgers here and the Braves hitting. And when you look at the Braves, what they're number 1 in runs scored, Dodgers number 2, Braves number 2 in hitting, Dodgers number 1 in team batting. I'm just say number 2 in team batting, and home runs they're right behind the Dodgers at 2. We sometimes forget about these Braves, that's how they can match up with these Dodger hitters.
Yeah, the thing with the Braves is that when you started to see the Braves struggling and getting out from being that team that's a perennial playoff team, a perennial contender in the NL, and then they had that down stretch for about 4 or 5 years where they just kept banking prospects. They took Swanson number 1 overall, and then they had they brought in Ozzie Albies, they had Ronald Acuna Jr. waiting in the wings. And, we were starting to say, okay, now they brought the kids up. Now let's see how long it's going to take them before they become a contender. And now we're seeing the dividends of having a complete farm system and, just biting your time. We're seeing how well that's paid off for Atlanta. And, now looking up, they're 2 games away from the World Series, from being in the World Series for the first time in at least 15, 20 years. And they're, and it's because they've had a young core that's now proven that's very, very talented.
That's right. They certainly do, guys. This is the drive through. Now, any lean here on this one? I would lean here with the plus money. I mean, getting plus 180. That's a big number there with the Atlanta Braves, considering how they can hit with the Dodgers. And if he can only go 4 or 5, of course, then you got to sweat out the bullpen for the Dodgers the final 4 to 5 innings of the game.
Yeah, the side's hard for me to call, but I left that in the premium area. But for tonight, my stronger free play is going to be on the over. I think once you get through the starting pitchers, I wouldn't be surprised if both starters give up 4 runs before they leave the game. I think this could be another one where I'm not sure we see 15 runs, but I think we could at least get to 10 or 11 in this one by the time everything's said and done.
All right, guys, welcome to Drive Thru. I'm your host, Tony T, joined by Chris Ruffalo here, and we have a lot to do here on this show today. We're going to cover the baseball, the playoffs. We got the Rays and Astros on our show today. We'll also have a pick from Coastal Carolina and Louisiana, and the rest is football, college football, and the NFL. The Drive Thru airs every Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time here on Sports Chat and Pick Dogs YouTube channel. And guys, we move through the show rapidly. Let's take a look here at who we have on the show today. Of course, Chris Ruffalo joins me in the co-host, as will we have also on the show Joe Duffy and Alan Enos. Going to try a different shirt today out for those Dodgers, are you?
See if this one works any better than the last one.
Let's see if it works better than the last
I
one.
know
Right,
Chris thinks they're all jinxed, but we'll try this one.
I didn't say. I said nothing of the sort.
Another sort. All right, let's go ahead and get it started here. Welcome to the show, Joe Duffy. Joe, how you doing? How are things going down in the ATL up 2-0 on these LA Dodgers?
It's going pretty well. Look, I'm glad that Al's not wearing that shirt that he was showing in the pre-show we saw him on camera, but that's another story altogether. Yeah, with the Braves, look, here in Atlanta, a lot of people think that they're jinxed. You may remember back when the Braves blew a 3-1 series lead to the New York Yankees when somehow I was not a big fan of Bobby Cox, and he did some bizarre management that kind of gave it away. And we know the biggest blown Super Bowl ever was by the Atlanta Falcons against New England. University of Georgia, it's in Athens. They're not an Atlanta team per se, but they're the most popular college football team in Atlanta. We know how they blew that, when Ty Tagliavola came back for Alabama a couple years ago. So in Atlanta, they're very paranoid, and I know some people I follow on Twitter were crapping themselves last night when it looked like they were going to blow that lead, but the Braves managed to hold on, to a game that looked like was very much going to be a blowout, but turns out it was quite the sweat.
All right, we just saw Tuesday Night Football last night as we saw the Tennessee Titans as home dogs. It got past the hook, then it was going between 3 and 3.5. They got almost 16 days of rest, and they had a lot of time to try to exploit that Buffalo Bills weak pass defense. They seemed to do a good job of 6 of 6 in the red zone. The execution was sharp there for the Titans, Joe.
It wasn't. Look, I'm going to brag. I've been in this business 33 years. I have never lost a Tuesday night NFL pick ever in all the years I've been. I own Tuesday Night Football. Yeah, that was one of those where I know a lot of people were worried about, the layoff and maybe the distractions. I've said so many times, I've said it here on this show, that teams rally around adversity. So I thought, if anything, for the Titans, that would have been a big thing in their favor. They truly had something to rally around, and knock on wood, not that I'm having the greatest NFL year by any stretch of the imagination, but one of my better systems, and one that's actually intuitive as opposed to most of my systems that are counterintuitive, but undefeated big home underdogs are a very good play, and that continued last night. So again, I'm not going to make it sound like I'm having the greatest year ever, but that was it was nice to get a little bit of a laugher. I didn't have to sweat out a win last night because, like I said, this NFL season, I've gotten a little bit more gray hair than most NFL seasons where, I've made a ton of money. But yeah, we're back in the right direction now.
Great. And Chris, what did you take out of that Titans performance against the Bills? I heard a lot of people making a case for Buffalo, but sometimes when you're a professional team, that extra rest is going to help you more than hurt you, especially when you've got film and you're going to study your opponent. What did you take from that win for Tennessee?
Well, I think we talked about it earlier in the week. I was also one of the people that had Buffalo because I thought, I thought this Buffalo team is really good. Josh Allen is taking a step to being one of the more elite young quarterbacks on the come up in the next few years. But Tony, it's like you said, these guys are still professionals. At the end of the day, they're still getting paid a lot of money, and they also have it helps to have 2 weeks to be able to study for an opponent. I mean, granted, you're hoping that you're going to have to face the team that you're prepared for, and maybe that cuts you down a week. But we just saw how Tennessee just was going to take no prisoners. They showed up. Buffalo came into town. They're like, okay, welcome to Tennessee, but you're not leaving here with a win. And I got to give props to the Titans for that one. That was a heck of a performance.
No doubt, a heck of a performance here, guys. This is the Drive Thru. We're here Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, we're joined here with Joe Duffy and Chris Ruffalo. And, Joe, you're going to take a look here at this one between the Eagles and the Ravens here. Ravens road favorites 7.5. I'm seeing an 8 pop up in some places, total 47.5. We know the Eagles have had their struggles this year, but Baltimore, they have beaten, when they win by margin a lot of times, and they've beaten up on some of the poor teams. But how do you see this one?
Yeah, they've definitely been a great cover team this year. On the other hand, the Eagles have been horrible against the spread. This is one of those that, look, when I first, not when I first got started in the business, but when the internet came around and I first went to the internet, I would go out and read just about any article that a fellow handicapper read. I like reading, other theories. And one of the things that's an urban legend, quite frankly, it's often referred to as home road dichotomy, when one team is much better at home than they are on the road, or especially if two teams are like that. People love to bet on those splits to continue. Well, conversely, same thing. We have a situation here where, or a little bit of the opposite, where Baltimore is 4-1 straight up, including 2-0 on the road. Philly is 1-3-1 straight up, but 0-1-1 at home. So Baltimore is substantially better on the road than Philadelphia is at home. So again, a lot of people will say, oh my goodness, you got to bet on the Ravens, right? Well, hashtag fake news. Just like the more traditional home road splits just do not hold up. This one where both teams are a little bit better on the road, that doesn't hold up as well. An anti-splits angle that says go against a team that's much better on the road straight up than the home team is at home straight up is 141, 108, and 11. And again, that would be to essentially fade that or go with the home team, in this case, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles. And again, NFL, number one regression to the mean sport of any college or pro sport. Philly, they've been awful this year, 1-4 ATS, failing to cover by an average of 5.8 points per game. That latter is the third worst in the NFL, but a regression of the mean angle that essentially says bet on bad teams or teams that have played poorly is 194, 116, and 13. And yes, it's true, Lamar Jackson is one of the best road quarterbacks in the NFL. I think in his career he's 8-2 ATS as a starter on the road, but the odds makers are clearly over adjusting, or they've adjusted to that. He's now a 7.5-point road favorite to a team that could win the division. Look, Phil, you asked me about it last week, Tony, about the small fans. Philadelphia is finally going to allow some fans this weekend. 6,000 fans. I don't think that's a huge factor, but I think after coming back from 2 road games, it'll probably be a minor boost for them to at least have some fans in the stands. I don't know if this is going to be a premium play. As you know, I added to my arsenal a couple of simulations and then a power ratings. 2 of them basically say the line is right on the button. Another one does, frankly, lean towards Baltimore. So it'll probably be short of a premium play, but all in all, an underachieving team, just like in the case of Josh Allen, where he's a very good quarterback, but maybe he's playing above his head. I certainly think Carson Wentz is a much better quarterback than he's shown this year, so he's got an upside. So I just think this is a great regression of the mean game. Philadelphia stays within the number, and I'm not so sure betting on the money line would be that bad of a bet either.
Oh, Joe Duffy coming in strong here on the Eagles, and of course, money line bet isn't bad in his opinion. Chris, how do you see this one, Eagles and Ravens? We know Wentz, it's been a little bit of a rough year with 9 picks. The Eagles 11 turnovers this season. How do you see it?
Yeah, it kind of gives me a bit of a headache to think of the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles could win their division and they're leading the division at 1-3-1. But that's kind of where we're at right now. And I was doing a little bit of digging on this game, and I'm not a Carson Wentz guy, but I got to agree with Joe on this one. You look at the Eagles, and I mean, this is a team that's 9-3 against the spread in their last 12 games when they're an underdog of at least 7 points. And in 3 of their last 5 games, they've won those games outright. And you look at they had back-to-back games on the road, which can at times be a kiss of death. And they still performed well. Granted, one of those games was against a San Fran team that was missing some key guys. And I mean, I could catch the ball that if Nick Mullins threw it right into my chest, right between my numbers. But that's besides the point. The Eagles still won that game, and then they held their own against a Pittsburgh team that I herald as one of the better teams in the league this season, especially with the way that offense is performing. So I definitely think, especially if you're getting the hook on this one, like we're getting with the 7.5, I think that the points are more than viable play, and I could even find myself putting a little bit on the money line as well with the Eagles.
All right, Chris Ruffalo here giving us his opinion here on this Eagles and Ravens team. Another thing on this game, Joe, you're looking at an Eagle team getting the Ravens after facing the Steelers. So what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, a little bit. I found in the NFL, the letdowns and the look-aheads, and I've been able to research it. It's not as big of a factor as it would be in college football, for example. But yeah, the fact that that Baltimore is certainly could easily be looking ahead, or a non-divisional, non-conference team on the road just escape with a win. I don't think people realize how big it is when you're a 7.5-point road favorite. That's humongous. That leaves a big gap where they can certainly escape with a win, but not cover. And, and I guess one of the things that did scare me a little bit, admittedly, road favorites have been fairly good in the NFL in recent years, where traditionally, of course, the public loves betting road favorites. So obviously home underdogs would usually be the play. Big road favorites have, admittedly, in very recent years done pretty well, where they're usually a go against. But yeah, that is such. And one of the reasons that people love road favorites is I don't think they realize how many points, when you get above 3 points on the road, that's a ton of points. So this is a fairly good team getting a lot of points at home.
All right, that's Joe Duffy here joining us on the drive-through. Joe, as we reach the bottom of the hour, we're looking over at Pig Dogs Premium. What do you have going on over at Pig Dogs?
Yeah, I do have a pick on the late baseball game as well as the college. No, I do have a pick on the college football game for tonight, a really nice system. It is a wise guy play. And like I said, we're getting it back. The NFL so-so start, college football a little bit better. And, again, got some momentum last night. And we're definitely going to be trending upwards. 33 years of winning says the best is ahead of us. So make sure you do get that college football winner for tonight. We got a system that you people have won with for many, many years.
All right, kick up Joe Duffy's premium plays over at Pig Dogs Premium. We're getting deeper in the season here. Of course, now you got to readjust here, as we're going to have teams with some history and some teams that are just going to get started here as we got the Big Ten, Pac-12, MAC, and Mountain West. Boy, you're going to have your computers here on overdrive here, Joe.
Yeah, it's funny that some of my systems used to take into account the week number, and I've had to go through them and change it to the game number because, this year, the game number and the week number, there could be such a difference between the two. But, yeah, there are some early season systems that I do think will apply for, the Big Ten and the Pac-12. So I'm going to keep a very close eye on that. So it is crazy that, you're going to look at a couple conferences one way and another conference a different way. But yeah, we'll never have another year like this. I hope not. Anyway,
I got a real tough question for you, Joe. UMass. I don't know if you saw their situation. They were going to suspend operations to start the season. 3 weeks ago, said, okay, we're going to play. Let's try and fill up our schedule. They got one opponent so far this year, and it's Georgia Southern, and they're 31.5-point favorites. How would you figure that one out?
Yeah, well, we were talking about a guy off there a while ago on the old radio show. The one guy used to love his intangibles. Old Oscar. I don't know. He's probably going to wind up having some big intangible play on that game. Who knows? But yeah, it has been crazy. I was kind of hoping my alma mater's Division II, and they had canceled the season early on. I was kind of hoping their conference would copy from some of the Division I conferences and have a change of heart, but that's not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I would say if anything, if it's going to be a one-game season, they'll be able to put all their emotional eggs into that basket.
It looks that way. All right, Joe, it's always great having the show. Check out Pig Dogs. Pick up Joe's premium plays for this weekend's football action. Of course, we got games during the week as well. So, Joe, have a great night. We'll see you in a couple days.
We'll talk to you guys in a couple days for sure. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Joe Duffy here on the drive-thru. Chris, I know we were laughing about this UMass because I looked at that game and I just saw they had one team on their schedule. How do you figure that one out?
So what you're telling me is they might be able to have a bowl game. They might be able to.
They might have a perfect season. That's another thing. They're shooting for a perfect season.
They might have a winless season whether they schedule one team or 13 teams. I don't like the Minutemen this season.
Who thought it would be this hard to find opponents? The Minutemen says, okay, 3 weeks ago we'll play. They found one taker. That's it. So we'll see.
Well, they're all like, well, you missed your chance. We're all good now.
Oh, I know.
Everybody's like, you missed the boat. You
late
have
to
fun.
the party.
I don't know. Yeah, seriously.
They're a little late to party.
When all the pizza's already given out, everything's already open, everybody's already sitting there watching the game and stuff like that. You got UMass showing up at like 8:00 and the party's over at 9, and they're like, okay, well, at least we showed up.
That's right. Of course, we'll be getting this a little later, but so far the shirt is working for El Ninos. That shirt change was a good move. They're up LA up 2-0, still banning with runners in scoring position here. So we will check that out. Of course, you've heard the breaking news. Nick Saban testing positive for the virus. He's left the facility immediately as Alabama hosts Georgia. That puts another twist into that game there, Chris.
Yeah, you know what? I'll be honest with you. My initial lean was to Georgia as it is. I mean, and now you've got arguably one of the best coaches in the country that now has to deal with a bout of COVID. Possibly, if they get this game to keep going. I know, Tony, you and I were laughing about it off the other. He's still going to find a way to coach this game, but if for whatever reason he can't, you're leaving a potential SEC and potential playoff eliminator game. Let's call it what it is, or even in a 10-game season, to your assistant coaches, and against a guy like Kirby Smart, that's not the best spot that you want to be in.
Well, he can just get that. He can just get that presidential cocktail treatment. That might get him up on his feet in a couple days, right?
Oh Lord,
that might be that might work. We'll see. We'll see if that works. You guys here on the drive.
I'm staying out of that. I'm in Canada, man. I'm staying out of that.
I don't blame you. All right, we're continuing here with the drive-through. We're going to take a look at this game, the primetime game between the Rays and the Houston Astros. Glasnow against Greinke. It's Tampa favored here, about $1.30 in some places, $1.36. It's come down maybe about a dime since it opened. So a little money on Houston so far. Total sits here at 8.5. Of course, Glasnow has looked pretty sharp here of late. And Greinke, you always got to worry about Greinke. He's talking about a sore arm. He's not happy in the bubble. He can be a little moody at times. It doesn't help the fave season here. Their second baseman has the yips. How do you see this one here?
Well, I mean, it's funny we mentioned Zach Greinke. I mean, it's funny, it's not funny, but you'd think for a guy that has openly had issues with anxiety, that he wouldn't mind pitching in the bubble, that he wouldn't mind pitching with not that many fans in the stands, and it's a nice and quiet environment, and you think, and then all of a sudden the season's on the line with him, and I don't know. To tell you the truth, my initial lean was towards Houston just because they had playoff experience and guys that are just built for this sort of situation. But I also thought that yesterday, and look how well that turned out. I mean, the Rays just decided to turn it on as the game went on. You look at Glasnow. The thing with Greinke is that we were talking about it this morning. You have to get to him early because this is still a veteran pitcher that's thrown many a complete game in his time. He can settle down if he gets you. You're not getting many hits off of this guy, and Glasnow has got to be just as sharp as he has been for the Rays this season. I mean, they've won his last 9 starts. My initial lean is towards the Rays here.
All right,
to finish off the sweep.
Yeah, I can't argue that one here if I get the lower third correctly. Yes, definitely a lean there for me. Looking at the Rays to close it out. Of course, Houston just not hitting the baseball. We've seen them do this season where they just get really cold. Look at Greinke's numbers. Go back to his past 6 starts, 20 earned runs in just under 30 innings, and it has not been good. And speaking of good, Mr. Ninos, boy, you've done a job. 6-0 Dodgers already to start this game. We do a segment, and before you know it, LA's hit a couple homers. Peterson a 3-run homer, and then Rios comes up and pounds one over the fence. So LA up big already to start at 6-0 there, Chris.
Yeah, and just when you thought Kyle Wright might have turned the corner after a solid postseason start, old habits die hard, don't they? I wish I could say I'm a little bit surprised with Kyle Wright, but it was bound to happen eventually.
Well, don't forget that it's Urias on the hill. So if you're the Braves, it's not Kershaw, it's not Buehler, it's not even Gonzalez, who I think is a decent pitcher, but it's going to be Urias. So we'll see how it goes in that bottom first there, Chris.
This is fair. I don't want to jump to conclusions. I don't have a very good vertical, so let's leave it where it is right now.
All right, continue here on the drive-through. I'm joined by Chris Ruffalo. A lot of picks coming. We're going to get you that. We got you that Rays and Astros game 4. Chris and I both agreed on the Rays to close it out. We've got Coastal Carolina, Louisiana. That game in about an hour. We'll have a pick on that one. And, of course, we'll go through some NFL and some college football games as we get through the show. And, Chris, you're going to be looking at – it's not for your pick for the show. You're going to be looking at this Friday game between SMU and Tulane. SMU, the road favorite, 6.5. Total sits here at about 64.5.
Yeah, I mean, Tulane's been probably one of the most frustrating teams for me, at least in the college football season so far. I mean, I had high hopes for these guys. You know, they have the Green Wave have like a 4 or 5 deep running back core that can run circles around most of their opposing teams. And I mean, you know, it didn't really show up against South Alabama. They only won by 3, and then they had that total collapse against Navy. And, you know, come back and put up 66 on Southern Miss, which I don't know how much stock you want to really put into that one. But then all of a sudden I think, okay, well, you know what? Maybe they'll come out against Houston, and they forget the word defense, and they give up. They go from being up 24-7, they lose that game 40-31. You know, if you can't keep Houston down, and that was a Houston team that was playing their first game that was trying to rebound from a 4-8 year under Dana Holgerson, who's been known as an offensive coach, I shudder to think what's going to happen when you play an SMU team that leads the country in total yardage. They're putting up over 600 yards a game. Tulane's allowing opposing quarterbacks to throw for over 271 yards a game and 9 yards per pass attempt. You know, and like I said, the offense for Tulane hasn't been there. SMU's probably going to have this one wrapped up by the end of the third quarter. I think I got Southern Methodist, SMU winning this one by at least a touchdown. You could probably even do an alternate line up to about 10 points here.
Yeah, I always get nervous with this SMU coach because I see a lot of them at Cal. Remember when he played at Cal and that played horrible defense? I mean, I'm always nervous laying points with him, with his teams, because I just saw how poorly his teams defended while at California.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the defenses this year. I mean, okay, granted, can't really count into Stephen F. Austin, but the defense showed up against Memphis. This was a game that a lot of people had as an over through and through, hitting 80 points, myself included. The line finished at 75.5, and they only gave up 27 to Memphis, which you know, what was last year's meeting? It was like a 95-point shootout between the two. I mean, yeah, okay, you gave up 35 to North Texas, but North Texas is still a really good offensive team. They just can't play defense if their lives depended on it. So, I mean, as far as I can tell, I think SMU is going to be a team to watch for in the AAC this year. I think their next test, and this is what I'm a little bit concerned about with this game, is next at home against Cincinnati. So, could there be a look-ahead spot against Tulane? Maybe, but I'm of the belief that yes, look-ahead spots exist, but if you want to really, you know, send a message going into that Cincinnati game, you put the boots to Tulane early because, you know, you want to send a message and you want to make sure that you're at 100%, your offense is clicking going into that game, and I think it has to be. So that's why I'm going to lay the points with SMU here.
All right, Chris Ruffalo says lay the points with SMU here as we hit the bottom of the hour. Chris, I want to know what you have going on over at Pig Dogs Premium.
Yeah, we had the 6 o'clock package go off with the Braves game today, but you know what? I'm gonna have plenty of stuff cooking up throughout the week. You know, take a look at those 3-day and then week-long packages. I especially suggest taking a look at the 3 days if you're gonna start buying on Friday, because that's gonna get you through Saturday, Sunday, Monday. The value only gets better as you look at the longer term packages. A week, you're only gonna spend about $14 a day. When the average package that I put up there is $25, $29.95, if not more. You know, even the month, you know, I think I have it for $279.95 right now. And at 30 days, that's less than $10 a day. So the longer term you go, the more value you're going to get per day. And like I keep saying it, you know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be me. If you find another capper that you like, by all means, you know, hook up with someone, put some winners in your pocket, and get some cash.
That's right. Get some cash. Of course, you get it with Chris Ruffalo if you find him over at Pig Dogs Premium. All right, guys, we continue here on the show as we reach the bottom of the hour. Still a lot more picks coming. We got that Coastal Carolina, Louisiana game. We got an NFL and some more college. Now let's take a look here, Chris, at this Ole Miss and Arkansas game. Interesting line in this one is Ole Miss laying 2.5. I'm seeing it come down to 1.5 in some place. Big line here, over under, I should say. This one is sitting at 62 between these teams.
Yeah, this is one of the ones I was having a harder time trying to figure out, to be honest with you, because you'd have Arkansas who comes into this one. They almost snuck out a win against Auburn, but then next thing you know, this is still an Arkansas team that's still got a lot of the same team from a squad that didn't win a conference game last year. But I mean, Felipe Franks has taken a step in the right direction with that team. He's given them a proven quarterback that can at least get the ball up and down the field. I think the difference for me in this game, though, is that Ole Miss just has a solid offense. Granted, they haven't been able to do much defensively, but we've yet to see Arkansas really do much offensively as well, except for putting up 28 against Auburn. I just think this could be a spot where you see Ole Miss 42, Arkansas 35. I mean, this could be my best play for this one would honestly be to maybe look at the money line rather than just laying the point, because next thing you know, it's a 1-point game and you're going to get snaked if you have Ole Miss. My best play would probably be Ole Miss on the money line here. I think the Rebels win this game.
All right, Coach Rivero says take Ole Miss. Yeah, I'm with you there. I think they can just outscore Arkansas. Razorbacks, they don't have a strong enough running game to exploit the Rebels. I mean, they're only averaging 2.4 yards a carry, and that's on an average of 36 rushing attempts per game. That tells me is an offensive lineman to another offensive lineman. You guys haven't spent enough time in the weight room when you can't run block. Is that right or wrong?
Well, no, you're 100% right on that. But I mean, the other thing is that Arkansas's best work this year has come to double-digit dog. They're 3-0 against the spread, yes, but those 3 games came as a 13.5-point dog, 16.5 points when they beat Mississippi State outright, and then 27.5 points where they barely hung on against Georgia. They haven't really been in this shallow water of 2.5 or 1.5 points, where that's sort of where the Rebels have kind of lived against even or even lesser opposition. And it's like you said, Tony. I just think that this is a case where Ole Miss just once again outscores their opponent. It's a little bit scary. That maybe you want to look at the over or the under. I'd probably start trending towards the under. These games that are combining for an average of like 90+ points a game, it's not going to last forever. I may also look at the under in this spot as well.
All right, that's Chris Ruffalo joining us here on the drive-thru, co-hosting with me today, guys. We're here we're here every Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern time on the drive-thru, and let's continue our coverage. We got a college football game today, and to help us with that one is our man El Ninos. El, how you doing today? You changed your shirt for us, and the results couldn't be any better. You're still batting in the top of the first inning. What is it now, 8-0 in this game?
Let me double check that. Sorry, I'm not watching it right now. But yeah,
you don't know what you've missed. You've been missing some interesting action here in the first.
I know what I missed, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately, I guess. But yeah, go Dodgers. Yeah.
The Dodgers have just been on Kyle Wright is having a problem. I think they've already hit around. I mean, we're seeing Justin Turner up again. I mean, this is 8-0 here in the top of the first, and the runner on third, and Turner up here. So you're looking good.
Yeah, I tried to warn one of our viewers that was on the Braves that Kyle Wright wasn't gonna have a good day today. But anyways, the Dodgers have had a rough series too. So I mean, I can't blame anybody for going with the Braves again. But yep, again, Dodgers are up, so not out of this one yet.
Yeah, there has been a pitching change. I think Wright is wrong, and they got Dayton, a lefty, in there going. So now there's been a pitching change here, and doing a review, and it looks like they're going to are they going to give Turner first base on that hit by a pitch? Maybe he put his, yeah, they are going, are they? They are going to give him first base, possibly. Yes, they have. So now we got first and third. So LA may put double digits possibility. You got a 10 or 11 run in here in that first area possible.
Yeah, I mean, you want as many what you call them,
runs.
As many runs as you can against this Braves team. I mean, no lead's really too safe against this team. They can get hot too at any moment. We saw the Dodgers almost come back yesterday. The Braves are capable of doing the same thing. So I mean, I hope they do save some runs for the next game too. But yeah. Not complaining here either.
Well, it is 7-0. They said that Turner was hit by a pitch. It was not a wild pitch, so they load the bases with 2 outs. 7-0 LA. Bases juiced. So LA again. What did they score the last 2 runs against this Brave pitch? 11 runs, and they put 4 up yesterday. And we got Muncy up here looking for a slam here. So, but there's never enough when you got Urias on the hill, right? I think they would tell you that, right, Al?
Oh no, I'm with Chris. I mean, we've been rough on Urias. I mean, I've tried to say some nice things about him, and I still think. I mean, he's not that bad a pitcher. I mean, Yes, he's not the best Dodgers starter, that's for sure. But I mean, he's not that bad either.
All right, joined here by Al Ninos here, and we're looking at Al. You're going to be looking at this college football game that starts in about an hour. You're looking at some Sun Belt, Coastal Carolina, Louisiana. Did you put this pick somewhere? It opened at 7. Now it's up to 9.5 in this one. Total sits at 58. As Louisiana is favored here, we've seen a lot of movement on this game, but Coastal Carolina has shown some improvement. Offensively, and of course Levi Lewis has got to improve himself a little bit under quarterback. His numbers not near as good as they were, but they are good, not near as good as last year. But how do you see this one?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great game. As you mentioned, Lewis has been a little disappointing this year. Just 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. This was a very, very good offense last year. They've still managed to put some points up this year. And, Carolina's got themselves a good new quarterback there. He's up to a great start with 11 touchdowns and just 1 interception. And, so neither of these defenses has been too good either. And, I'm as I said, I think Lewis does a little better against this defense. Line opened at 55.5. It's all the way up to 58 now. But, I still think these teams, the way they've been playing, I still think they can go over that number. So, yeah, I'm taking this one to go over the total.
All right, Nino says take this one over the total. I know, Chris, you looked at this game. It's the football game for Wednesday. We get the Wednesday action again. It feels good to have football on those Wednesday. Although it's not MAC, but we'll take Sun Belt because they score a little bit more and more points sometimes than the MAC. So we're looking here. How do you see this one with Coastal and Louisiana?
Yeah, I can definitely see where Al's coming from with that one. I mean, personally, for me, as far as this game goes from a total standpoint, I'm on the under. I mean, we saw last year, we talked about it this morning, how Louisiana, they got up for that game against App State last year. And I think we thought it was going to be like a shootout, see 100 points. I think it finished 17-7. It was just a game that was really played between the 20s. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of that as well. Levi Lewis, Elijah Mitchell, Trey Ragus are going to be a 3-headed monster for Louisiana. Can't forget the Coastal has a solid front 7 as well. They got Grayson McCall under center, who's a freshman that beat out 2 other experienced quarterbacks, so he's going to hold his own as well. This one I think bumped up to 58. And I saw it as a 30-27 game, so if that's the case and it hangs around 58, I'm on the under personally, but I think it's going to be close to that number, whichever way you slice it.
All right, it says say the under. You see me getting crazy here. Muncie hits the grand salami there, 11-0. Now you can rest a little easy there if you had the Dodgers. I know you got Urias in there, but most runs in any inning of the postseason, the Dodgers have just broke the record for the most runs there, Chris, in any inning.
Well, looks like yeah. I'll hit it right on the head. Right was wrong, and and Tony, this is kind of going back to a recall of what we talked about a couple days ago. Once you get past those first couple, top tier guys in your rotation, what are you going to do when you have to throw at a guy like a Kyle Wright or a Tukey Tucson or someone in that rotation? And we're kind of seeing the effects of it now. I know. Granted, you said, you can't be too careful with Urias on the mound. We just went over the total, and it's not even the bottom half of the first inning.
2/3 of an inning.
It's like, I can't even put that into words right now.
Oh,
that some people have already cashed out, and it's not even the end of the first inning. It's not even halfway through the first inning. And people who had the over 8 and 9.5 have already cashed out their tickets and are on to something else. But anyway,
and let me tell you, this poor Dayton, this guy is going to be a sacrificial lamb. The game is over. You keep him in for the rest of the game, even if you give up 20. You don't want to burn any arm anymore, right? I mean, that's how you got to look at it, right? You got to be the worst pitcher. Only the worst pitcher comes in the first inning when you're down 11-0.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at that. Look at that. What 29-9 game? They threw in Jordan Yamamoto for 2.2 innings. He gave up 13 runs, 12 earned. And even then, they still used 5 pitchers in that game. So I don't even know. I know it's not a playoff game, but I don't think anything's off limit at this point. I mean, don't be surprised if you see like I don't even know if he's still with the team, a Charlie Culberson going up and throwing a 70 mile an hour slider, and then all of a sudden we're gonna end up with a 23-2. Dodger victory. I don't know.
I was wondering Kyle Wright was disguised as Mike Folkenewitz, you know.
I was gonna say no leads. I was gonna say no leads safe, but I think we got enough insurance runs. Maybe they can start throwing some of the field players to pitch and save some of their arms for the next game.
Well, I think this Dayton is a sacrificial lamb. I think this one's taking to take one for the team. You're going to go the rest of the way, kid. You're the last man on this roster for a reason. That's it. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
Go out there. Just go out there. Tap the "Don't suck today" sign. Just get us some ground balls. We'll sign you for another year. Just do us this solid this one time. That's all we need.
Here it is. Just keep them. Here's the thing. Just keep them under 20, kid. Just keep them under 20. That's all you got to do.
Are we talking 20? Are we talking 20 for the game or 20 by the third inning? Or
20 by the game. Just keep them under 20.
What's the live total right now?
That's a good question.
What's the live total?
I know if Mitch was out there, he'd be looking at a Braves money line.
I'm sure he's hit that a few times already.
Check the price for the Braves money line.
Oh, we got Urias on the hill. He's good for giving up 5 or 6. What are we gonna get?
Oh yeah. That's only like some value before that happens too, I guess.
That's only like 1.5 runs per inning. If you can average 1.5 runs per inning if you're Atlanta and keep the Dodgers shut out the rest of the way, you got a chance.
Didn't they go out like this? Oh, they're not going out here. Didn't they have that terrible game with Fulton Newitz where they gave up like 8 runs to the Cardinals? Was that last year when that happened?
See, you got to realize any game with Fulton Newitz
20
is
and
a
a
terrible
half.
game.
Sorry.
20 and a half is the total.
20 and a half. Yeah. Yep.
All right, so we're going to go in game here with Al. So you're going to take over under 20 and a half runs in this one.
Wow.
you got even Al nervous.
I may have had a little play on the over myself, so this might not be the worst time to hedge as it goes down to 19 and a half already. But yeah, this is hard to call right now. I don't even want to touch that right now. I'll tell you the truth.
All right, joined by Al.
If you want to hedge on your overs, feel free to. But I'm good.
Yeah, Chris is looking pretty. It already cashed. He had over 9.5. And
hedge. What am I talking about? Try to middle something.
Cash form in 15 minutes. I think they had it over in 15 minutes. 15-minute over. I mean, that might have been the fastest over in history of baseball. It goes over in 15 minutes. I mean, that was quick. Boom, 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 just like that.
There's a that's what she said in there somewhere, but I'm not going to go digging for it.
All right, Al, as we have you here, as we hit the top of the hour, hey, we see you're posting some solid numbers at Pig Dogs, #1 in the NFL, my man. So what do you have going on over at Pig Dogs Premium?
Yeah, I have my play on the side of this college football game for tonight, and I have I actually made a premium play on the Rays Astros game tonight. If you want to check that out too, and yeah, I got some NFL going on. If you want to check out some of those early plays on the long-term pass, as Chris was saying, those are probably the best way to go. You get the plays as soon as we make them, and yeah, definitely a better deal too.
All right, guys, check out Al Nunez over at Pig Dogs Premium. You see the numbers there. #1 documented over at Pig Dogs Premium with nearly 900 units of profit. Pick up his long-term package. Get one of those 38 passes. Get all his NFL plays here for the month. And, of course, they'll give you an option to renew then as well. So pick it up over at Pig Dogs Premium. All right, Al, great having you on the show. You'll hang out for our last segment when we go over the picks, and we'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right, we'll do.
All right, our buddy Al Nunez here on the drive-through, guys. I know if you joined us late, it's 11-zip Dodgers. They scored 11 in their inning, and they're out of the inning. Thank you, Dayton. Got them out. All right, Chris. Let's take a look at this NFL game between the Bears and the Panthers here. Carolina about a 2.5 to 2-point favorite. There's some 1.5s out there. Total sits here at 45. Of course, Teddy Bridgewater has been very accurate passer this season. The Bears. When you look at yards per attempt, Nick Foles less than Mitchell Trubisky. Can you believe that? This interesting one here between the Bears and the Panthers. Panthers favored at home.
Yeah, you know what? This is not a game that I initially thought I'd be running to the window to bet. Especially with Nick Foles and Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, I like what the Panthers have done this season, but it still feels a little bit weird, seeing the Chicago Bears with Nick Foles under center. But the funny thing is, he just beat Tom Brady, and I know Tom Brady is not the Tom Brady of yesteryear when he was with the Patriots. But that's still, it almost seems like he has his number. And as far as this one goes, you look, this is still a somewhat depleted Panther defense. I mean, they're still missing like Luke Kuechly from last year. The secondary is still in pieces. You look at the Bears defensively; they still have one of the better defensive teams in all of in all the NFL. They still have a solid secondary that, like we have seen them do, like we saw against what we thought we were going to do against Indianapolis, was capitalize on mistakes. They didn't do that, but they did that last week. And I think this is just a spot where Teddy Bridgewater just makes one too many mistakes. And then I think the line's low enough that a money line play isn't out of the question here either.
Absolutely. All right, here, looking at the Bears here in this one here on the drive-through, guys. We're here Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. A lot of picks on the show. Still got a couple more to go over. You'll get my play, and we're going to look. Actually, we're going to see my play right now. It's time for my pick, and we're going to be looking at this Mississippi State and Texas A&M game. And I'm going to take the points with Mississippi State plus a 6.5. I know this is a tough spot for Texas A&M as they draw Mississippi State after back-to-back games against Alabama and Florida. Aggies have been inconsistent offensive team the past few seasons. They look good one week, bad the next. They did score 17 at Vandy. Don't forget about that. Got 24 in Alabama. But Mississippi State is looking to rebound after losses to Arkansas, Kentucky. I think they'll get a bounce back here. They did show well in that win against LSU. Now, Stanford transfer KJ Costello is a capable quarterback. 66% of his throws is complete. But Mike Leach is throwing out threats out to his roster over performance, and we need to purge our team, and that might get some people to worry about their scholarship. These coaches like to play those kind of games, head games with their players, see if he gets a response here. But the Bulldogs have a good enough defense here, and holding teams to 2.1 yards per rush. But Texas A&M, they do struggle in pass defense, allowing nearly 300 yards. But the big stat here that gets me here is 10.2 yards per attempt. So they do give a lot of downfield passes. So I will take the points here with Mississippi State here to bounce back. And we see this a lot in these middling SEC teams. They'll lose one week, win the next. A team will have a letdown and then a come up. That's how I see this one. Chris, your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, you are a braver man than I am right now. I'll tell you that much for first side of Mississippi State. Because you know what? I was high on Mississippi State the last couple weeks, and I thought maybe, the air raid offense would show up. It didn't against Arkansas, and I was like, okay, well, that's losing as a 16.5-point favorite isn't a good look, but maybe they'll come out against Kentucky and then, save some face. And the 2 points that they scored weren't even their own 2 points. They got a safety because Kentucky snapped the ball into the end zone. So that's kind of what I'm having a hard time deal with. And I think Mississippi State's now on my list of I need to see it before I believe it, before instilling any faith in the Bulldogs going forward. You make a few points, but a few good points, but I have a beef with Mississippi State now and Mike Leach and KJ Costello. So I personally was on the other side of this one, but like I said, I can't argue with your points. Like I said, my beef with Mississippi State is going to be long-standing for the next little bit.
Yeah, it can happen there with Leach. He can get it under your skin sometimes, but sometimes he can pull something out. He'll do a little motivation there. And, of course, I just seen with his A&M team, to me, it's just an up-and-down team, consistency issues with them. Mond, he can look good one week. Remember that game against Arkansas? He's always had trouble when they were really bad. He didn't really do a good job. All right, here on the drive-through, guys. Well, Urias is doing his job to help that over 20.5 come in because he's walked the first two batters, it looked like. So when do we talk about that, right? Urias. So he had over 20.5 in-game. You got a shot for this one. All right, guys, here on the drive-through. Now it's time to recap the picks from today. So let's take a look at what we had here. And let me get mine out of there. Don't want to hog the screen. All right, we started off with Joe Duffy. Joe Duffy says, take the Eagles plus 7.5 against the Baltimore Ravens. Chris, SMU minus 6.5 against Tulane Green Wave. That's your Friday game. L, Coastal Carolina, Louisiana to go over a total of 58. Yours truly was on the Bulldogs of Mississippi State plus 6.5. And like I always ask here, we'll start with Chris here. Chris, other than your play, which one up here do you like the best? Or since it's a short card here, hate the least?
Well, that's a fair point. You know what? I got to see, since I disagreed with yours and Al's picks, I think we're process of elimination. I got to go with Joe Duffy. But which one do I hate the least? I'm sorry, Tony. I'm going to go with Al on this one. I don't hate the over in that Coastal Carolina Louisiana game. I can't stand Mississippi State, man. Mike Leach, go back to the Pac-12. We don't want you here.
I know the Pac-12 is hurting the image of the SEC coming in and giving up putting up all those points on these teams, hurting their image, taking the shine out of that conference. Sabotage.
Like, whoa! What are we gonna do now? I know we're late to the party, but we still got to have something.
All right, our man Al, he does have that premium on the Coastal Carolina, the site there if you're looking for it over at Pick Dogs, but he has the over. All right, Al, I'm going to ask you the same question. Other than your pick, it's a short slate here. Which one do you like the best, or in the case you made hate the least?
Yeah, short card. I'm gonna go with my boy Chris again. SMU is a team I loved last year, and I think they go and have another good game again.
All right, so Al says he likes the SMU. All right, thanks, Al, on the show. We'll talk with you again tomorrow. All right, back here on the drive-through with Chris. Guys, remember, don't forget, tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll go through this again. We'll have a college football game on tap for tomorrow, and we'll also take a look here at baseball playoffs and, of course, a lot more football. And don't forget the morning show with Mitch and company. You'll hear and listen and watch Chris on that show, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, as they break down the card of the morning for you every morning on the Pick Dogs and Sports Chat Place YouTube channel. Don't forget to like the channel, subscribe, and set those notifications so when they go live, when our shows are live, you get notified and you can watch our show. All right, let's go ahead and bring our Pick Dogs from the show today, and we'll go ahead and give a wave goodbye and say, see you guys, have a great night, and we'll see you guys